I knew I had to leave him. I knew I wouldn't survive it if I didn't. So I made the decision to file for divorce.
Amber Heard on the stand claiming the divorce from Johnny Depp was her idea, despite Depp testifying he had already told Heard the marriage was over. She claims abuse, but is it true?
Mr. Depp is your victim, isn't he?
No, ma'am.
Depp's lawyer, Camille Vasquez, coming in with a tough cross-examination.
I pledged the entirety of the settlement, $7 million to charity, and I intend to fulfill those obligations.
That's not my question.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar podcast, where we take a deep dive into the testimony and the biggest moments in the defamation trial of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. It was a big week, and it was quite a week. Amber Heard was on the stand Monday and for much of the day Tuesday. She told the jury the alleged abuse by Depp started in 2012, not 2013, as she had previously claimed.
How is it that you didn't just remember all of those events like this?
That's not how your memory or my memory works.
Heard denied ever telling her private nurse, Erin Borum-Filati, that she had been addicted to both liquor and cocaine, and that she had eating disorders and had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
When did you provide a client history to Erin Filati?
Never.
When did you first get assigned Erin Filati?
I believe September of 2014.
Okay. Now it says here that client reports a history of substance abuse, including an addiction to cocaine and liquor. When did you have a history of substance abuse, including addiction to cocaine and liquor?
I did not. There's a lot of mistakes in here.
This is pretty important because Amber Heard is basically suggesting that a medical professional, Erin Borum-Filati, a nurse, wrote things in her notes that were not true. Then Heard was questioned about the infamous audio recording where she admits to hitting Depp in 2015.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
Even a lot of fights have been around a long time. I know. Yeah.
No, when you have a closed fist.
You get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not deck you. I was hitting you. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
How are your toes?
What am I supposed to do? Do this?
How are your toes?
I'm not sitting here bitching about it, am I? You are.
Oh,
that's the difference between me and you. You're a baby.
Because you start physical fights?
Such a baby.
Because you start physical fights?
Amber, please explain to the jury what's transpiring in that audio recording, what that's about.
Well, there's two different situations that we're referencing in this fight. Two different altercations between Johnny and I involving the door. The first of which we first start talking about, where I'm talking about hitting him, I am talking about what that conversation is about the disparity. The disparity between Johnny and I in our physical fights, the disparity of how he would proactively punch me and I would have to resort to reactively hitting him.
With Amber Heard on the stand, you had to believe and you had to know that she was going to be questioned about the feces in Johnny Depp's bed. It happened after her 30th birthday party, where she was really angry with Johnny Depp for being late. Depp said it was the final straw for him. He decided the marriage was over at that point, according to his testimony. But Heard blamed that poop in Johnny Depp's bed on his dog, Boo.
What, if any, issues did Boo have with bathroom problems, if you will?
Objection, leading, and relevance.
Overruled all that. She had eaten Johnny's weed when she was a puppy and had bowel control issues for her entire life, among some other issues. She was, we regularly had to take her to the vet to try to figure out, well, what was wrong with this dog? Never met a dog that, was quite like this. So she had some control issues, hence why she liked to burrow in the bed. She liked to be in the, by the foot of the bed underneath the covers. And it was customary that they slept in bed with us, but Boo, having the issues she had, we have to leave her in bed so that she wouldn't be encouraged to go to the bathroom, which would happen almost immediately once you put her down on the floor. And sometimes it happened in bed too. But yeah.
Now, this is much different from what Starling Jenkins, a former Marine and one of Depp's bodyguards, testified to. Jenkins had said that Heard actually admitted that the poop was a practical joke gone terribly wrong, and she took responsibility for it on a trip to Coachella.
Why would that not be something you would do?
First of all, I don't think that's funny. I don't know what a grown woman does. I was not also in a pranking mood. My life was falling apart. I was at a crossroads in my life that was really serious, and I had just been attacked on my 30th birthday by my violent husband with whom I was desperately in love and knew I needed to leave. It was not really a jovial time, and I don't think that's funny, period. That's disgusting.
I think it's really important to point out here that Boo was a Yorkshire Terrier weighing just 4 pounds. And for a little context, I have a dog that weighs 16 pounds. I can tell you I pick up her dog poop every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. And none of my dog's poop is as big as what was left in Depp's bed. So you have to imagine that a 4-pound dog is not going to leave something that big. Now, a month later, Depp went to the penthouse. He said at Heard's request. He was on his way to Europe to travel with his band, the Hollywood Vampires. It was May 21st, 2016, that critical date in this case. That's when Heard claimed that Depp hit her with his iPhone. He says it was a setup by Heard.
Johnny hears this when he's on the stairs. He made it up one flight of stairs. Heard this, turned around, came bolting down the stairs, grabbed the phone from my hand, and really started screaming this time. Lit into IO, called IO every imaginable horrible name that you can say to a LGBTQIA person, for one, and any person, any human being ever. I mean, just screamed at IO some really nasty stuff. And when he was done, he says, you want to have my woman now. You want to have my bitch. You can have, you take her, you can have her. And he, with that, just pulls his arm back with the phone and throws it at my face. Hit me right in it felt like my eye. I put my head in my hands and immediately start crying. I said, "You hit me with the phone. Johnny, you hit me."
Now, a month later, Depp went to the penthouse. He said at Heard's request. Heard said that Depp then trashed Penthouse 5, carrying a magnum-sized wine bottle. 2 days later, she filed for divorce. 4 days after that, she obtained that domestic violence restraining order against Depp, who was in Europe touring with his band. Heard also testified about her counterclaim against Johnny Depp. She claims Depp and his lawyer Adam Waldman smeared her.
And this is an article that was in the Daily Mail on 8 April 2020. You see that? And then, Michelle, if you can move that to the next page, and perfect. It says, Adam Waldman, Depp's lawyer, said afterwards, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and a shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Is this a true or a false statement?
False.
And why is it false?
Well, you have to use what I've lived through and and what I've survived, calling it fake, saying that I'm harming Johnny with this, I'm harming the public with this. This is what I've lived through. And to say that it's a hoax, that these aren't even real things, I mean, after everything I've lived through and survived, and also I hadn't even spoken about the sexual abuse within my marriage.
Then the cross-examination by Camille Vasquez, Johnny Depp's lawyer, and it was a tough one. She is being praised for her precision and for controlling Heard as a witness. A lot of people watching the trial have commented on Johnny Depp's body language, the fact that he won't look at Heard at all when she's looked at him a lot during the trial. That is how Camille Vasquez started the cross-examination.
Mr. Depp hasn't looked at you once this entire trial, has he?
Not that I've noticed, no.
You've looked at him, though, many times, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You know exactly why Mr. Depp won't look back at you, don't you?
I do.
He promised you you would never see his eyes again. Isn't that true?
I don't recall if he said that.
Vasquez then played a recording from July 2016 when Depp met Heard in a hotel room in San Francisco at her request. This was after she had requested and obtained that domestic violence restraining order. She asked him, "Is this how you want it to end?"
No. Oh, no, a hug will save it all. All this, everything we just been
I
through.
just wanted to touch you.
Really? After all this shit you just said?
I just wanted to give
After
you
all
a
this
hug.
shit you fucking
Yes,
accused me of, you
yes,
want to
please,
touch me?
please stop me.
Fucking
Please stop.
fucking nuts.
Please, I just wanted to hug you and say bye. I didn't want to take it back.
We did that last night. It's fine. That was good enough.
No,
No, because I'm nothing to you. And I will always be nothing to you.
Calm.
What? You're not my shrink. No, you're in a fucking hole. No, we'll never see each other again. You won't don't take my fucking glasses off. You don't like fucking looking at not my fucking eyes? You will not see my eyes again.
And this is from when you and Mr. Depp met in San Francisco in July of 2016, right?
Yes, that's what it sounds like. That was in the hotel. We met once after that as well.
This is after you publicly accused him of domestic abuse.
Yes, and got my TRO.
Yeah. And he tells you you will not see my eyes again, doesn't he?
Yes, he does in that recording.
And he kept that promise, hasn't he?
As far as I know, he cannot look at me.
He won't look at you, right, Miss Heard?
He can't.
One of the major points of contention in this trial is just how Johnny Depp's finger became severed in Australia in March 2015. Depp said that Heard became angry over discussions about a postnuptial agreement and threw 2 vodka bottles at him in the bar of the home, one shattering on the bar and slicing off the top of his finger. Heard claimed that Depp cut his finger by smashing a phone. Vasquez played an audio recording of Depp and Heard discussing that fight.
It's not to get you mad, it's just to get out of a bad situation while it's happening before it gets worse. In Australia, when we had the big fight where I lost the tip of my finger, at least 5 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms I went to
avoid talking to me, to avoid
escape
working it out. That's
to
the
escape
problem.
the fight.
You don't escape the fight. You escape the solution.
No.
You escape the solution.
No.
You escape figuring it out. We cannot work it out if you run away to the bathroom every time.
Listen to me. A boxer can't go 12 rounds without a minute break.
I'm not giving you a minute break. You do it at minute 3 at the beginning of an argument.
No. There are rounds, man, and when it gets too hairy, the ref splits them apart or whatever. But all I'm saying is, you can't have a solution if the argument just keeps mounting and mounting and mounting and mounting. I go into the bathroom and sit on the floor. Bam, bam, bam. Here you come. I come out. fight, crazy, escalated. I'd go, split again, I'd go to another bathroom or a bedroom or something. Knock, 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 bang, bang, bang. You kept coming to get me.
This is what really happened in Australia, isn't it, Miss Heard?
I did knock on a bathroom door on the first night.
Not a bathroom door, 5 bathroom doors and 2 bedrooms.
Johnny
that right?
is not an accurate historian of what happened during
Miss Heard,
that
Miss
period
Heard,
of time. I'll guarantee
Miss Heard, that's not my question. 5 bathroom doors, 2 bedrooms. That's what you knocked on. That's what actually happened in Australia, isn't it, Miss Heard?
I was there.
So that's a
I
no?
remember it. I knocked on one bathroom door. I came on the first night after he decided to take the bag of MDMA.
Miss
and
Heard,
I went to check
Miss
on
Heard,
him and see
I'm going to
if we
move to
could-
strike everything after I knocked on one bathroom
She
door.
can't do that. She's answering the question.
Not quite, so I will sustain the objection. Just answer the question, okay, ma'am?
The recording we just listened to, that's exactly what happened in Australia. Mr. Depp lost the tip of his finger after you threw a bottle at him. Isn't that right?
That is incorrect.
You're the one who assaulted someone with a bottle in Australia. Isn't that right, Miss Heard?
I didn't assault Johnny in Australia. I didn't assault Johnny ever. I couldn't.
And then after he was injured, he had to hide from you, right?
That is
In
incorrect.
5 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms.
That is incorrect.
And you would pursue him
That is incorrect.
because he was avoiding talking to you, right?
He did that first night when
he was
I tried to
avoiding-
talk to him about the drugs.
And he was avoiding working it out.
No, he was avoiding agreeing to not fight about the drugs.
You weren't scared of him at all, were you?
I have a mixed relationship with Johnny, and one in which I'm scared, one in which I love him very much.
I'm not talking about your mixed relationship. That night in Australia, after you cut off his finger with a bottle, you weren't scared of him at all, were you?
This is a man who tried to kill me. Of course it's scary. He's also my husband.
Vasquez also pointed out there are absolutely no medical records for her documenting this alleged sexual assault with the liquor bottle that she claims Depp perpetrated upon her. She had actually seen Dr. Kipper the next day. He was at the house in Australia, and after that, she saw Erin Borum-Filati, her personal nurse, in L.A. Vasquez also played an audio clip where Heard appeared to taunt Depp and insult him.
Hey, you're not watching. No, you're not selling
You don't want
out.
to sell out,
No,
Magic Mike.
no.
You don't want to
Yeah,
sell
'cause
out.
no one does
No.
21 Drug Street when they're in their 20s. No, you're right. That's not selling out. No. When you're in your 20s, you should really know what you want. Like
By the
selling
way-
your journals.
By the way, if you didn't know who the fuck I was.
You're right. Go sell your journals like a real non-seller. 55-year-old. Or, I'm sorry,
6.
51. I don't know. It doesn't matter at this point.
No.
I don't think so.
It really doesn't.
I don't really think so. But you're right. I mean, hey, at least I didn't do like a TV show where I was heartbroken in my 20s. God, that would be like embarrassing.
Wow.
If only I was with someone in their 50s that could point that out to me. Magic Mike, you're right. When you play a non-sexualized object. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You're right. You got it all figured out.
You don't even know what movies I've done.
If only I could
You
be
haven't
like
even taken an interest.
If only I could be
You know,
like
but I had to
you. If
watch
only
your
I
fucking-
could be like
I had to watch your fucking direct and you trying to like
You're a joke.
spew
You're
out
a
these fucking
joke.
lines.
You're a joke. You're a joke.
Yeah, I'm the joke in the industry, Amber. I'm the joke. I'm the joke in the
I'm
industry.
sorry. I can't really hear you. I'm sorry. The reruns of all my bullshit are playing too loud for me to hear you. I'm gonna just go and pedal my way back. Sorry. I can't hear you.
Aquaman.
Oh, 21 is whatever it was.
I was
Remember anymore.
I was 20.
No one cares.
You call him a sellout, don't you?
I was expressing frustration about his criticism of my career and how many problems that caused within the dynamic of our relationship, yes.
So you call him a sellout and a joke?
I called him horrible, ugly things, as you can hear. And
Sellout.
We spoke to each other in a really horrible way.
Pretty sure We just heard you speak to him in a really horrible way. You called him a sellout.
I just
right, Ms.
disagree.
Heard? You called him a sellout, right, Ms. Heard?
I called him a lot of ugly things.
And a joke.
I called him a lot of ugly things.
You called him a joke on that recording. You called him a washed up piece of shit.
I think we both called each other that on that occasion, yes.
Mr. Depp mentions Aquaman, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Mr. Depp got you that role in Aquaman, didn't he?
Excuse me?
Mr. Depp got you that role in Aquaman, didn't he?
No, Miss Vasquez, I got myself that role by auditioning. That's
Mr.
how that
Depp
works.
says, quote, "Your jealousy is so tragic."
I heard him say that, yes.
You were the jealous one in this relationship, weren't you, Miss Heard?
I think he was indicating I was jealous of his career.
But now you've twisted it to say it was Mr. Depp that's the jealous one.
Johnny's always been very jealous when I worked, when I did anything, friends. Yes, he's always been very jealous.
Then Vasquez questioned Heard about that claim that she donated the $7 million divorce settlement to 2 charities.
$7 million in total was donated to, I split it between the ACLU and Children's Hospital of Los Angeles.
ACLU organization.
Sorry, ACLU is a prominent organization, nonprofit organization in the United States.
Yeah.
It's called the American
Right.
Civil Liberties Union, and they work on behalf of marginalized communities on the ground and in legislative reform.
Right.
And
Never
I
heard of
wanted
that.
nothing.
Sitting here today, Ms. Heard, you still haven't donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity. Isn't that right?
Incorrect. I pledged the entirety of the
Ms. Heard,
settlement,
that's
$7
not
million
my
to
question.
charity, and I
Ms. Heard,
intend to
Ms.
fulfill
Heard,
those obligations.
Ms. Heard, that's not my question. Please,
What was
try
your
to answer
question?
my question. Sitting here today, you have not donated the $7 million, donated, not pledged, donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity.
I use pledge and donation synonymous with one another. They
But
are
I
the same
don't.
thing.
Ms. Heard, I don't use it synonymously.
That's how donations are paid.
Ms. Heard, respectfully, that's not my question. As of today, you have not paid $3.5 million of your own money to the ACLU. Yes or no?
I have not yet.
And as of today, you have not paid $3.5 million of your own money to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, correct?
I have not yet. Johnny sued me.
So as of today, you have not donated, paid $7 million of your divorce settlement to charity, right?
I have not been able to fulfill those obligations yet.
And that's because you did want something, didn't you?
I didn't want anything, and I didn't get anything.
You wanted Mr. Depp's money.
Now, we have told you that Amber Heard, in her testimony, opened the door to her past relationship with former partner Tasia Van Ree when she brought up Kate Moss, Depp's ex-girlfriend, in her testimony. Vasquez asked her about Tasia Van Ree.
Amber Heard allegedly struck her ex-girlfriend Tasia Van Ree at the airport in 2009. Did I read that right?
Yes, this is another example of the smear campaign.
So Mr. Depp is not the only domestic partner you've assaulted, is he, Ms. Heard?
I've never assaulted Mr. Depp or anyone else that I've been romantically linked to, ever.
Now back to May 21st, 2016. That date is what leads Amber Heard to write in the Washington Post op-ed in December of 2018 that she became a public figure representing domestic abuse 2 years earlier. That is the basis of Johnny Depp's defamation claim. Rocky Pennington, one of Heard's former friends who lived in one of Depp's penthouses at the time, was with Depp and Heard in the penthouse that night for part of the argument.
I had a master key to all of the apartments. And I came back, unlocked the door, and he was yelling, and I don't remember exactly what he was saying. And she was calling for help, and that had never happened before, saying, help me. I went and I cut through the space between the coffee table and the sofa. And I went up to him, and he was yelling and yelling, and I put my hands up on his chest, and I was like, stop, just trying to calm him down. And he hit my hands away, and So I just went straight over to Amber. She sat down on the couch. She was crying, and I just put my body over her, and he came a little bit closer to us, and he was yelling at her to, like, get up, or I don't know, quit crying or get up or something. And it was really loud, and he was getting closer and closer. And I remember there was this like big orange ceramic ashtray on the coffee table. And I was thinking, if he gets any closer, I'm just going to pick up the ashtray and, like, hit him with it, because he was so close over us.
Now, Depp denies throwing the phone at Heard's face and injuring her. Pennington said she took photos of Heard's face, photos Depp claims are doctored. Pennington's now ex-husband, Josh Drew, also testified via video deposition about that night and claimed he took some of the photos in the aftermath of the argument.
So I think you testified earlier with Mr. Chu, Mr. Drew, so I have rhyming here, that you were in contact in the building with Ms. Heard on the day of May 22nd.
Yes.
And I'll represent to you that the photos in Drew 14 were taken on that day. Sitting here today, do you know who took these photos?
We're talking about the two I have in front of me right now?
Yeah.
It was either me or Raquel.
Is this consistent with your recollection of how Ms. Heard looked the next day on May 22nd?
Yes.
Did you see Ms. Heard's face on May 22nd?
Yes.
Did you or your ex-wife take photos of Ms. Heard's face on that day?
Yes, to my recollection.
And similar to questions I've asked in the past, was any effort made to stage those photos in any way?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Was any effort made to put makeup on Ms. Heard's face to make the injuries look redder or more serious?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Was any manipulation of the photos done, either using Photoshop or any other similar method?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Another witness for Heard, her younger sister, Whitney Henriquez, who said she loved Johnny Depp, but claims he later became abusive with her sister. She described her sister's birthday party, that 30th birthday party in 2016. She says Depp arrived late.
Can you please describe to the jury what you observed that night?
It was her 30th birthday, so we wanted to make it, really special. We had made this beautiful dinner, and it was great. All of her close friends were there, and everyone was having a really good time. Everyone was having fun. Johnny showed up very, very late, and he was drunk when he showed up. Amber was obviously upset about it, but there came a time in the party where we all went around the table and said our favorite thing about Amber, just funny memories or whatever. When it came to Johnny's turn, he told this story about how they first met when they met for the Rum Diary. So, he had this story about how she came in to his office and she sat on the couch and her perfect ass left a perfect imprint on the couch, and he wouldn't let anyone sit there after she left that day. And it was one of those stories that everyone was kind of embarrassed. We had all gone around the table saying really nice things about her, and gets to him and he's talking about her ass. We were all kind of embarrassed.
Now, we had heard Johnny Depp testify that he was late that night because he had a really important business meeting about his financial situation with Ed White, his business manager. White and Depp both claimed he was not drunk and that wine was not served at their meeting. Henriquez also testified about the March 23, 2015 incident on the stairs of the penthouse.
But I'm standing up there talking. I'm at the top of the stairs with my back to the stairs. And that's when Johnny runs up the stairs. And I'm facing Amber. He comes up behind me, strikes me in the back, kind of just somewhere over here. He strikes me in the back. I hear Amber shout, "Don't hit my f***ing sister." She smacks him, lands one.
And then he grabs, at that point, that's when Travis runs up the stairs after Amber landed one. But by that time, Johnny had already grabbed Amber by the hair with one hand and was whacking her repeatedly in the face with the other as I was standing there. Travis pulls them apart. I get Amber into mine. I close the doors behind me and lock them. I then hear Johnny's voice shouting.
Never mind, withdraw. Okay, sorry.
I hear Johnny's voice shouting, I hate you. I hate you both. You fucking whores. And I hear crashing. I hear crashing and banging and smashing, and he starts screaming like an animal. And I then just moved Amber into the next room, and I just kept her there all night.
Now, this account differs from the version of events given by Travis McGivern, Depp's bodyguard. He said Heard hit Depp as he was trying to leave the penthouse with him that night, a point which they do agree upon, though. Depp knocked over clothing racks in Heard's closet room. Now, at times during Henriquez's testimony, Depp looked puzzled and whispered to his lawyers. He had testified that he and Whitney Henriquez were very close and that he loved her. On cross-examination, Depp's attorney, Rebecca Lacarose, questioned Henriquez about the incident on the stairs.
Turning to the staircase incident in March 2015, you testified that Mr. Depp allegedly hit you during that incident, right?
Yes.
But you aren't sure if that contact was even meant for you, right?
I honestly don't. I don't know what he was aiming for. My back was to him.
And you weren't injured during that incident, right?
No, I wasn't.
And you didn't seek medical attention?
No.
And you said Debbie Lloyd was there during all of that, correct?
She was.
And Mr. Depp's security, Travis McGivern, was there too?
Yes, he was.
And you saw your sister hit Mr. Depp on the stairs that day, right?
After he struck me, yes.
You said she landed one, right? And then the next day you found some damage in the adjoining penthouse.
Correct.
And we saw some pictures of what you saw that day, right?
Yes.
You thought it was important to document that damage, right?
Not to document. It was Kevin's job to kind of clean up the houses, take care of the houses. I took pictures just so he could be aware of what he would need to bring. I didn't know if he had tools here or whatever. I was just preparing him for what he was going to have to fix.
But you didn't take any pictures of your sister that day, right?
No, I didn't.
Lacarose also questioned Henriquez about a friend of hers.
You know who Jennifer Howe is, right, Ms. Henriquez?
I do.
She's the founder of the Art of Elysium nonprofit.
She is.
And you worked there for a time, didn't you?
I did.
Around May 2015, you actually moved in with Ms. Howe, right?
May 2015? Yes.
And you moved out of the penthouses because at that point you and your sister were fighting, right?
It was around the time that, he had accused me of leaking stories, and that was the impetus of me leaving.
And you testified earlier, I think, that he had asked you to sign an NDA, right?
At some point. Yeah.
And that was around the same time that he was concerned you were leaking stories about their wedding to the media?
I believe so.
You and Ms. Howell were close?
We were.
Close enough that you lived with her for around a year?
I don't recall if it was that long.
And you confided in Ms. Howell, right?
About some things, yes. She was my friend.
You called her your chosen sister?
Now, this is going to be a big deal. You're probably asking yourself, well, who's Jennifer Howe? Why does she matter? Well, after Henriquez testified to the version of events in the UK trial that she testified to in this trial, Howe came forward and filed a declaration in this case. She is a friend of Henriquez's, as I mentioned, and she wrote that Henriquez had actually told her about the incident on the stairs, and that Henriquez had said that she tried to actually stop Amber Heard from hitting Johnny Depp that night, not the other way around. Howe said in the statement that Whitney had told her she had endured that type of violence her entire life, first at the hands of her father and then from Amber. Howe went on to write that Whitney told her Amber Heard had once thrown a glass of red wine at her in an elevator in New York. Howe also wrote that after the incident in Australia in March of 2015, that Whitney Henriquez told her, "Oh my God, she has now done it. She has cut off his effing finger." Howe is likely to testify next week for Johnny Depp in rebuttal, so stay tuned for that. The cross-examination of Henriquez continued.
You grew up in Texas with your sister and your parents, right?
Correct.
And you were really close with Ms. Heard growing up?
We were.
And you're still close now, right?
We are.
And you love her?
Of course.
And your childhood, though, had some difficult moments, right?
It wasn't perfect.
Your father hit you and your sister at times, right?
Yes.
And your sister would protect you from that abuse when she could, wouldn't she?
We would protect each other, for sure.
And when you graduated from high school, you moved out to Los Angeles, right?
I did.
And your sister gave you a place to live in LA?
Yes.
And she helped support you?
In part, I also was working myself, and yeah.
And you're grateful to her for being there when you needed her, right?
Of course.
And just like she protected and cared for you, you want to protect and care for her, right?
And when I can, of course, but yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN can get rid of all of these problems for you with an easy-to-use one-for-all solution. Surfshark will turn you into an anonymous and hard-to-trace online user and makes the internet a safer and more enjoyable place for you. With the click of a button, you can forget about data mining and intrusive advertisements. Use promo code LAW83 to get 83% off plus 3 extra months free. Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Surf with your own set of rules. The link is in the description. Heard's acting coach, Christy Sexton, also testified. She had worked with Heard for years. She said Heard had problems crying on cue. She testified about seeing Heard after that March of 2015 Australia trip, where Heard now claims Depp sexually assaulted her.
During the time that you were Amber Heard's acting coach and she was involved with Mr. Depp, did you observe injuries on Ms. Heard?
When she came back from Australia, there were a lot of little red marks on her arms that looked like freshly healing things. Skin, like red marks on her skin, on her arms that I saw. And then subsequently I would see bruises that looked like arms being grabbed or wrists. And I saw that all towards the end.
Sexton then revealed that the first time Heard ever told her about that claim that Depp raped her with a liquor bottle was after Depp sued Heard for defamation.
Ms. Heard told you about the bottle incident in Australia where she claims Mr. Depp penetrated her with it. Before your deposition, your first deposition in this case in August of 2019?
Yes. It was after I had talked to the attorneys.
After you had spoken to the attorneys informally, correct, at her house?
Yeah.
But it was before you were formally deposed in this case on I believe it was August 30th, 2019?
Yes.
Just to confirm and make the record really clear, this was the first time Ms. Heard had told you that Mr. Depp had allegedly penetrated her with a bottle in Australia, correct?
Yeah, she had told me about the assaults with the bottle, being hit with the bottle and the broken glass and everything. And then she had told me about all that many times before. And then this time she started crying and sobbing and started telling me about the assault, the penetrative assault.
And when Ms. Heard told you about this alleged rape that occurred, did she know that you were going to be deposed by her attorney?
No, because they were all in the other room. And they didn't even tell me that they were like, we may have you for a deposition. And that's when I had said to them, if you're going to do that, I would appreciate it if you did it before I left the States. And they said, we may or may not need you. And it was a couple days later that they then sent me the contact and said, we are going to subpoena you.
A former friend of Johnny Depp's, Bruce Whitkin, also testified via video deposition, and he was the second witness we've seen this entire trial who was vaping during his deposition. The first, of course, was Alejandro Romero. Whitkin testified about Depp's substance abuse issues and issues in his relationships with women.
Have you noticed a certain intensity of Mr. Depp's relationships?
Yes.
And have you ever observed Mr. Depp exhibit any jealousy when he's been in a relationship?
Yes.
And do you remember when?
I go all the way back to my sister-in-law. I mean, you can definitely have a jealous streak in him.
Can you remember any specific examples?
When he was younger, he was jealous of Nick Cage or jealous of Adam Ant because my sister-in-law knew them.
And besides that initial time period, did he ever tell you about any jealousy with any other women or any other times?
Yeah. He brought up a few with Vanessa, which were ridiculous. A lot of it was in his head and not in reality. You know what I mean?
And what about with Amber? Did you ever encounter any talk from JD of jealousy with respect to Amber?
Yeah, there were a couple mentions if she was doing a movie with some guy or stuff like that.
In terms of jealousy, would anything make Mr. Depp more bothered or less bothered?
Like I said, it would if she was on a film or doing something that he couldn't be around it to see what was going on. I think he'd work himself up,
Whitkin also testified about seeing injuries on both Depp and Heard.
Mr. Whitkin, you mentioned previously that you had seen bruises on Amber's upper arm.
Yeah, one time, yes.
One time. Does this look like the bruise you saw on Amber's upper arm? Mr. Whitkin, what did the bruise that you saw on Amber look like?
I mean, it looked similar to that, but it didn't look like it looked like a grab, not a punch. Like just somebody grabbed her arm.
Do you remember what year or time frame that bruise that you saw was?
I'd have to go through the dates. We were working on a Keith Richards documentary, and Johnny and her showed up to the studio, and I just had noticed it on her arm.
And when did you see Mr. Depp with a fat lip?
Late. I'm thinking it's sometime in either 2015 or 16 during rehearsal.
Next up, Joel Mandel, Depp's former business manager. Depp sued Mandel and settled that lawsuit. Mandel testified about Depp's lavish lifestyle. He was paying staff $300,000 per month.
Approximately how much did Mr. Depp earn during the period of time you represented him?
I recall the amount being reported to be something like $600 million, and believe that amount was probably, close to that.
Did you steal $650 million from Mr. Depp?
No.
Did you steal anything from Mr. Depp?
No.
Mr. Mandel, did TMG or you take any money other than the fees that you were entitled to from Mr. Depp?
No.
Mr. Mandel, were you ever found adjudicated by any court, any kind of legal entity, any agency to have committed malpractice, malfeasance, or embezzlement?
No.
And then came a big witness that we were all waiting for, Adam Waldman. He is Johnny Depp's current attorney, and he is someone who has defended Johnny Depp to the hilt against these abuse allegations. Now, Heard accuses Adam Waldman of launching a smear campaign against her at Johnny Depp's direction. It's part of her $100 million counterclaim against Johnny Depp. Well, of course, Waldman couldn't answer a lot of questions because his relationship with Johnny Depp is covered by attorney-client privilege. He did answer questions, though, about a Daily Mail story from 2020 in which he called Heard's abuse allegations a hoax.
Depp's lawyer, Adam Waldman, said the various discrepancies prove that nothing Heard and her friends said about the events of May 21, 2016 could be considered credible. Do you see that?
Hearsay.
Then I'm going to direct your attention, Mr. Waldman, to the next statement. Quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt didn't do the trick. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their story straight under the direction of a lawyer and a publicist, and then placed a second call to 911. Do you see that statement?
I do.
Did you make those statements?
There are two parts to what you've shown me. The first part didn't have quotation marks around it.
And I'm not asking about that. I'm sorry.
Where it said nothing could be considered credible, that's not quoting me. The part with the quote marks, I believe I said that, yes.
So starting from quite simply through (911), you stated all that. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Did you make these statements on Mr. Depp's behalf?
Instruct the witness not to answer on the grounds of attorney-client privilege.
I accept the instruction.
Waldman testified that he communicated with mainstream media and internet journalists pretty much in the same way. He had also tweeted about Heard and was later suspended from Twitter for life.
I wrote several letters to Twitter to ask why I was suspended for life from their platform. And the response that I received was multiple violations of their policy. So I asked, could they name one example of those multiple violations? And they responded by saying now they were appealing, without my asking them to do so, my suspension. And that's when they sent me another note that I was suspended for life.
So just so the record's clear, so you have been suspended for life by Twitter?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a Twitter account now?
No.
Now, the only other person that I can think of who is actually suspended from Twitter for life is President Donald Trump. Think about that. It actually makes me wonder if Heard's ex-boyfriend, Elon Musk, who's in the process of buying Twitter, will let Waldman back on the platform when the sale goes through. So we're just going to have to wait and see if that happens, I guess. Now, most of the witnesses that Heard called testified about Depp's anger or having issues with jealousy in relationships and struggles with drugs. Michelle Mulroney, a lawyer for Amber Heard hired to explain the ins and outs of a post-nuptial agreement to her, testified about Depp calling her from Australia in March of 2015, around the time of the severed finger incident.
Please describe the telephone call from Mr. Depp.
My recollection is that he was very mean, that he called me names, and that he fired me on behalf of them.
When you say that he was very mean, what did you mean?
Well, my only exact recollection is he called me a bitch.
Mr. Depp called you a bitch on that telephone call?
Hearsay, leaving.
Now, this is when Depp claims that Heard became angry about that post-nuptial agreement and threw the vodka bottles at him. He said that Heard had claimed Mulroney had been treating her poorly, leading to her anger. Depp had testified he now believes that Heard's claim wasn't true. Then came testimony from Tina Newman of Disney, which owns the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Depp said he learned days after the op-ed was published that he was out of Pirates 6.
Do you know whether anyone at Disney has ever even read the op-ed written by Ms. Heard?
No.
Are you aware of anyone else at Disney who has knowledge of the topic areas in the deposition notice, that's deposition exhibit number 2, that beyond what you know?
I can't honestly say. I can't speak for someone else. Like I explained earlier, my knowledge and what my job functionality is at the studio, that plateaus, and there are people that I work under, and those particular persons may or may not have more knowledge, but I can't speak on behalf of them.
Is Disney aware that Mr. Depp has testified under oath that he would not take another Pirates of the Caribbean franchise role for $300 million and 1 million alpacas?
No.
Would Disney entertain paying Mr. Depp more than $300 million and provide him with more than 1 million alpacas to be able to obtain his services for any future Pirates of the Caribbean role?
No.
That elicited major laughs from Depp and Camille Vasquez. Depp's former longtime talent agent, Tracy Jacobs, also testified via deposition, and she said that Depp severed ties with her several years ago. She said his star was dimming in Hollywood because he was frequently late to sets and had substance abuse problems.
Even with your speaking to Mr. Depp about him consistently showing up late for set, did he correct that behavior during that last 10 years?
No.
And what types of difficulties did that cause for Mr. Depp?
Well, initially, crews loved him because he was always so great with the crew, but crews don't love sitting around for hours and hours and hours waiting for the star of the movie to show up. And it also got around town. I mean, people talk. It's a small community. And it made people reluctant to use him toward the end.
And when you say toward the end, was that toward the end of your representation of Mr. Depp?
Yes.
Jacobs also testified that Depp wanted her agency, UTA, to give him $20 million when he ran into financial trouble. She says instead they helped him secure a loan. She was also asked about whether in the 30-plus years she had repped him, whether he'd ever been violent with a woman.
Have you ever seen Mr. Depp hit a woman?
No.
Have you ever seen Mr. Depp throw anything at a woman?
No.
Have you ever seen Mr. Depp kick a woman?
No.
Other than Amber Heard, do you know of any other woman who ever accused Mr. Depp of physical abuse?
No.
Have you ever seen in person any marks on Amber Heard?
No.
Ms. Jacobs, you testified, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that in the last 10 years of your representation of Mr. Depp, there was more unprofessional behavior by Mr. Depp. Is that correct?
Yes.
During that period of time, the last 10 years you represented him, was he ever fired from a movie?
No.
Also testifying Thursday, actress Ellen Barkin. She had a fling with Johnny Depp back in 1998. She testified that their relationship went from being platonic to sexual. She was asked about seeing Depp throw a wine bottle during an argument with his assistants that same year.
Did you ever observe, Ms. Barkin, Mr. Depp's behavior change when he drank more or used more drugs?
I did not.
So he was kind of the same all the time, fair to say?
He was not the same. He was high.
Did there come a time, Ms. Barkin, when Mr. Depp acted in a way that was out of control with you?
Yes. Mr. Depp threw a wine bottle across the room, the hotel room on one instance in Las Vegas while we were shooting Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Was something about to happen?
A fight was going on.
Between you and Mr. Depp?
No.
Who was the fight between?
Between Johnny Depp and his friends in the room, the assistant. Honestly, I don't remember.
And the bottle do you remember sitting here today, Ms. Barkin, whether the bottle was full of wine or empty?
I don't.
Sitting here today, Ms. Barkin, do you remember whether the bottle hit you?
No, it did not.
Did the bottle hit anyone else?
No, it did not.
Heard's former lawyer, Eric George, also testified about the advice he gave to her about the op-ed.
What, if any, legal advice provided by you to Amber Heard respecting the Washington Post op-ed was disregarded by Amber Heard?
None, to my knowledge.
What, if any, legal advice provided by you to Amber Heard respecting the Washington Post op-ed was followed by Amber Heard?
All of it.
What, if any, legal advice did you provide to Amber Heard in connection with the drafting and publication of the op-ed that was not made in good faith by you?
I acted in good faith throughout and with the best of my abilities.
Now, the last witness of the week is Heard's agent. She testified via video deposition about what happened to Heard's career after the abuse allegations and after Adam Waldman started defending Depp in the press, calling the allegations of abuse a hoax.
You and WME successful in doing that?
Correct.
When did he call Warner Brothers to renegotiate the next film?
It would have been the end of February last year.
What year is that? 2021?
Yes.
At some point, were there press reports that Ms. Heard was getting released from Aquaman 2?
There were online rumors for a while that she was being replaced.
When did you first hear about those?
First, I don't know exactly when, but it was way before. It was way before this. It was maybe even a year before this. 6 months before, maybe.
So nobody ever told you that Warner Brothers misrepresented the reason that they were replacing Ms. Heard, correct?
Why? No, why would they?
Did there come a time when Ms. Heard was restored to her role in Aquaman 2?
Yes.
At that time, what were the terms of her restoration to Aquaman 2?
The financial terms?
Yes.
She was going to be making $2 million on the second film.
Was that consistent with the original contract?
Yes.
Is this consistent with what Warner Brothers originally gave as the rationale for not using her in Aquaman 2?
The lack of chemistry between her and Jason?
Yes.
Yes.
So did there come a time when WME came to understand that Ms. Heard's role as Mira in Aquaman 2 was diminished in some way?
When she was sent the script.
What, if any, impact did it have on Amber Heard's career and career path to have Mr. Depp's lawyer putting out statements in the press and in tweets that Amber Heard was lying, making things up, creating a hoax of abuse?
I think that his comments spurred on, it just added fuel to the fire. So there was already so much media coverage.
And that's what you observed?
That's what I observed.
And that's it for this edition of Law and Crime Sidebar. Thanks so much for being with us. Next week, Amber Heard's case continues, and she plans to call Johnny Depp to the stand. Get ready for that. Closing arguments are set for Friday, May 27th. Jesse Weber and I will be in Fairfax for the trial next week. You can catch us on YouTube during the lunch break each day, where we'll be taking your questions from around the world live. I'm Anjanette Levy, and I'll see you next time.